This region around the Great Lakes has been called the heartland. When it comes to agriculture, there's hardly an area in the world that compares.
Everybody, just hold on. I don't know what we're going to have here.
There's a lot of self-proclaimed geniuses out there that know the national yield, but they're all wrong.
Manage money, piling in.
Double digits higher.
So at this point, we're in kind of uncharted territory.
There's a lot of money on the sidelines.
So that was a crazy one.
That's what brings the viewers back. That a boy.
Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, January 16th, and this is the AgYield War Room. I'm Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you get any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area, and we'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets here at March corn up a penny and 3/4 at 422. March soybeans are down a penny at 1052, and March Chicago wheat was up 7 at 517.5. This morning, we had a couple export sales announcements, 298,000 metric tons of corn to unknown destinations for 25. Also announced 120,000 metric tons of corn to Japan, also for 25. Starting out this morning, I guess what we know from yesterday, we had another huge crush report. NOPA came in at 224.99, which was above the estimates and the second largest month ever. And also the rumors that have been floating around for a better part of the week, we started to see news stories come out that we could see a biofuel announcement here by March. And so I think everybody's just trying to digest what that could mean. It feels like there's been some concessions on both sides. And I think, Justin, maybe we kick it off with that, as we talked about before the show. It still seems like the hang up could be this import of used cooking oil and what that's overall going to do to that industry if we're not going to be totally self-reliant on our product.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a lot on the show, but tens of billions of dollars have been pumped into new crush facilities, new biodiesel facilities, and we saw call it October through January, kind of a big flush out of the oil share trade, call it. Now since then we're back to where oil share is the highest it's been since, call it September-ish, maybe August, September. So you kind of, like if you look at managed money, basically went from a massive long to a massive short in soybean oil in that time frame. And since then, oil's gained back quite a bit. Like I said, back to August or September levels for oil share. So, I commented to you guys, I think early in the week, it just feels like something's been leaked the way that oil started trading. But I don't know if we're coming back from, all hope is lost. And now we're back into something that's reasonable on what the policy is going to be. I don't have a good handle on it. It's been, I think I said this months ago, it's kind of untradeable because you just don't know what's going to come out of Washington, what the policy is going to be. We talked before the show. It certainly feels like, the White House is really, keen on low prices, low commodity prices, low oil prices, low grain prices. Nothing's coming out that would really spur demand that I can see. We're not being aggressive on like an E15 policy. We're not being aggressive on biodiesel policy. So hoping that, something changes there. But so far, that's certainly been the rhetoric from my perspective.
And Dustin, what are your thoughts this morning?
Yes. Allowing foreign feedstock to come in and get the credit doesn't seem very America first. I hope that the lower prices has gotten some sort of reduction to what the original. We kind of knew this a couple months ago, right? They kind of leaked it that they were considering this delay and that. So we'll see. But myself, I think still looking at a really big corn balance sheet projection and just timing, like when is this going to move? We could easily run into some sort of another narrative down the road, like Brazil has a drought in April and May for a second season crop. That could change things. We have a problem this summer that could change things. But right now, we are just swimming in corn based on that that stocks number. And so that's, to me, I think that's going to be the next question is how much corn gets moved in the next 2 months. And is this really good demand story, is that going to be enough to keep prices above that flood of supply that's supposedly going to be coming? So I know there's a lot of people out there that are questioning the number, don't believe it. The USDA could be wrong. I don't want to say that that's impossible, but you got to think for them to be off by 400 million bushels or more is very difficult on the stocks number. And so even if they're off by 400 million, that's still too much corn. That's how I feel about it. At least it's just way too big of a balance sheet.
Yeah, Dustin, at that point, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and just talking about between now and call it planting. And it certainly feels like a ton of growers held corn, called BS on the numbers. We're going to find out in January how low the crop is, and it went the other way. And now kind of in shell shock, like, now what? I just have that feeling that there's just a lot of corn that was held, realizing that we had a 70-cent rally and a lot of people didn't sell it. And now you're going into planting. And I don't think the narrative of, hey, we're just, farmers just aren't going to sell. I think it's going to get really tough because you're going to go start having to talk to bankers, and cash flow needs and all these things are going to happen before planting. My fear is that between now and call it first notice day of March could be kind of messy. I don't know if you think the same way, but that's kind of my feeling right now.
Yeah, maybe there's more congressional money coming. Right? I know no one wants that, but we've given some examples in the letter about how what it looks like to pick up new ground right now at $400 an acre in Central Illinois, high productivity ground at 241 yield using farm doc numbers. That's losing about $170 an acre, right? And that's at a 241 yield.
Well, we've talked about this for years, and at some point there has to be a change. Like, you can't pay $400, $500, $600 an acre to lose $200 or $300 an acre to start. Like, that can't last long term. So at some point, someone's not going to give you money to go lose $200 an acre. I think there has to be a complete reset in rental prices, personally. And I thought it would happen sooner than this, but I think this is the year that we're going to see some major resets. Just because at some point you can't spend that kind of money to lose money to start.
Yeah.
I'm concerned just on an outlier is if they shut down January 30th, if we experience another Washington disaster and we don't get payments out, I mean, like, what happens now?
Well, you're going to have to sell corn.
Yeah, right.
I mean, not to be Captain Obvious, but you're going to have to free up cash. So that's why I'm more concerned about the next 3 months, I guess. If I'm, holding a bunch of supply, I'd rather, clean out my bins personally and own calls or something if that was the, if you were bullish. But I think we've talked about this a lot on the show. Like, the biggest risk always was between when crop insurance ended in October and the next year's crop insurance is set in February. And we're in that very vulnerable time frame.
And payments are just such a small portion of the revenue that needs to be made. I mean, it's less than 5% of the revenue for a corn acre, right?
Well,
so
we basically lost the payments on the report day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We picked up $44 an acre and lost 50.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's a good point. So more bushels need to move to get the same volume of dollars to pay down that note. So that it could fuel itself, really. More bushels moving faster. Not to be Debbie Downer, right?
Yeah. Right.
But let's just put the silver lining out there too. The quicker we can get to a lower price, the more farm bill payments are probable to trigger for the MYA being lower, and that payment would come like October 2026. The more likely we're going to get usage as high as we possibly can get and get a cleaner balance sheet going into 2026. the more we can compete with South America through that second season. I don't want to see low prices, but I think that there's sometimes the markets need to work through extra supply. And while there's a bunch of derivatives still active still, there's some silver lining for those that have hedges in place, at least.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I mean, the lower and quicker we can go, the better, which is counterintuitive.
Yeah. You don't have hedges in place, that's different. Yeah, I mean, it's just you'll lose it more on unsold bushels. But
Ben, you look like you're cooking something up over there. What do you got for us here this morning?
Yeah, I'm really frustrated with this circle of the government where we come up with good ideas to increase domestic demand, and then we undermine them with poor policy. Speaking of used cooking oil, and then you have politicians this morning from ag states looking for another payment. I wish that we would start a broader approach to looking at investing money to create, get to E15 with infrastructure updates where we can allow that to have robust domestic markets. And it's just kind of a vicious cycle of the government's keeping the farmer on life support while they're producing at below break evens. Everyone who's using corn and soybeans are making money from it, and it just doesn't seem like a good sustainable path.
Yeah, well, and Nick is always the optimist. Farming's fun. Well, working with you is fun too, Nick. We appreciate you. So at least you're keeping a good outlook on it there, Nick. Yeah, Justin, what do you got to close here on the grain side?
Yeah, to Dustin's point, like, don't want to be a Debbie Downer, always trying to look at, the optimistic side of things. And, do remember that we do have really robust PLC prices. We do have really highly subsidized crop insurance. And not to be a broken record, but I think the game has changed, meaning that the way that you market, the way that you have to navigate these markets, I think it's a crop insurance play with a farm bill play and trading around it. I keep going back in my head and just looking at the math of all these things, and that I think this is just such a different, you have to adapt to this new environment. And I think that's the whole game. It's, like it or not, I think that's how you have to play these markets for the foreseeable future, to be honest with you, because, with the supplies that we have now, like, barring a major drought in South America, losing, 50 million tons or something like that. I think you need something like that to get back into like a real bull market. To Ben's point, until, unless we get some real big domestic policies that drive domestic demand, I think we're just beholden to crop insurance and farm bill, to be honest with you.
Very good. And just as a teaser, we will be putting out some exclusive content there next week, starting to talk about crop insurance and some of the things that we've been talking about here in the War Room, but we're going to do a little deeper dive. So that'll be out next week. Let's move quickly here. Ryland, fresh eyes everywhere for hogs yesterday. Nothing special in the cattle markets. What are your thoughts to wrap the week?
Yeah, there's nothing to be down about the meat markets right now, that's for sure. So at least kind of a bright spot in the agricultural world right now. So kind of bringing it back to reality, but it was a little bit of a turnaround Thursday. Feeders led the charge. I mean, no question about it. We're seeing open interest increase. Still have yet to see any cash sales on the live side of the market. I think just overall the price action still kind of holding on the live side. But the feeders really are kind of leading everything, I think, at this point. And beef prices are creeping higher here. Slaughter's actually coming in just a little bit above last week, and we're still seeing beef prices firm up here. So choice is up 224, select up 206, new highs for the move there. You got choice back above 360. So just a lot of good news kind of going into the end of the week. So just waiting to see what cash is going to say. On the hog side of things, a complete and utter breakout, just exploded yesterday, just like we kind of expected after that $10 up in cash. So you just got a lot more cash optimism. Open interest up another 7,000 contracts. So, I mean, I think at this point, we are probably seeing some overbought conditions, but generally speaking, the news is pretty firm going into the day. I mean, you had bellies up 357, carcass up $2.31 at 93.60. So we're starting to see a little bit of cash up in the products. And seasonally, hog market typically stays pretty firm. I mean, both hogs and live cattle still stay pretty firm between now and February 17th. So we still got another 4 weeks, I think, before we see any real kind of seasonal pressure at that rate. So, yeah, I mean, wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of setback just because we are definitely overbought on a technical level, but I imagine near-term levels of support to hold.
So a positive note, Dan, we did have a client in the office yesterday, and organic corn is $1.50 higher than a year ago.
Yes,
There you go.
$9.50. So keep buying that
$9.50.
organic.
So if you're organic, it's a hot market right now.
Yes.
Got the
And if
RFK organic movement going on.
It was so funny. So Justin, anecdotally, so he opens the fridge, he's having a cup of coffee, opens the fridge, sees that we've got organic half and half, and slaps the table and goes, "You guys are good." He goes, "Keep buying organic."
Yeah.
So anyway,
So there's a silver lining.
there's the silver
Corn's
lining.
$1.50 higher than a year ago.
Yeah.
If
If you
you're-
got if you got 3 years of your life and you can transition, I mean, maybe it's
there you go.
might be positive.
Yeah.
Brian, Fun Fact Friday. What do you got for us?
All right, thanks, guys. Happy Friday, everybody. You guys ready to get your minds blown away with these perception of time related facts? All right, let's start off with this one. George Washington died in 1799, and the first dinosaur fossil wasn't discovered until 1824. So poor George never knew that dinosaurs existed.
Tough poor guy.
Missed out, man.
Yeah, I know. Totally.
He probably would have used one of their teeth.
Right? There you go.
Yeah.
The time period between copper swords and steel swords is longer than the time between steel swords and the atomic bomb. Wrap your head around that one.
I'm gonna need a picture.
We put a man on the moon before inventing luggage with wheels, and the high five wasn't until 1977 when 2 baseball players in the MLB did it for the first time. So that's kind of strange. Yeah. Nintendo was founded while Jack the Ripper was still on the loose in 1889. All right. Abraham Lincoln didn't use toilet paper. Not that he was because he was gross, because it wasn't invented until 20 years after his assassination. Sharks have been around. Sharks have been around for 450 million years, which means they were around before dinosaurs, trees, and even Saturn's rings. How about that?
I gotta fact check this.
All right, dude, let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Jack, get on it. And lastly, Clint Eastwood's parents would not have been able to celebrate the birth of their son with a can of beer because Eastwood was born in 1930 and the can of beer was not invented in 1935. So.
Let's do the fact checking for next Friday.
All right, let's go back. Yeah, Jack, let me know how I did on these, and happy Friday, everybody, and go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Sharks are older than Saturn's rings. I just Googled it. All right.
All right.
See, I'm good.
Saturn's rings?
Yeah.
Like, who was around to verify this?
The Sharks were.
Wow.
The Sharks.
The Sharks.
Okay.
Yeah, Nick Fry.
Space Sharks.
Chuck Norris invented sharks.
I like that.
I like that's very true.
Not gonna fact check that one.
Yeah.
No.
Chuck Norris for Sharks. Easy.
Very good. Real quick, guys, War Room Report. Let's talk about that for a second. We, as we just mentioned, we're going to have some exclusive content out next week. We just launched that this week. The link to subscribe is in the comment section. It'll provide you a deeper dive into the things that we talk about every morning. It'll be a report that comes right directly to your email discussing corn, beans, wheat, and livestock and all the major news that are moving the market. So be sure to check that out. Also, a portion of those subscriptions goes to support the AgYield Next Gen Foundation, which supports scholarships for ag-related students throughout the country. So we're really excited about that as well. If you wouldn't mind, throw us a like and subscribe. We appreciate everybody that tunes in on a daily basis. We're doing this every day that the markets are open on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, 8:15 Central Time. Appreciate the thoughts and comments here this morning, guys. It was a good show. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Go Bears, and we'll talk to you again on Tuesday.
The War Room is proudly presented by AgYield. For over 50 years, the AgYield team has provided grain marketing and risk management solutions for growers across the country. Our veteran consultants harness cutting-edge technologies to pinpoint risk, optimize market performance, and protect your farm's profitability. Discover a new approach to farm revenue management at agyield.com.
Hey guys, Jack here. Be sure to support the show by hitting the like button, leaving us a comment, and subscribing to the channel for all the latest updates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.